Hey, welcome back to the Intellectual Freedom Podcast. I'm Dr. David Hopkins, your host and guide and humanities professor. So I'm glad to have you here as we continue our series on education. We've covered student debt, AI in education, talked about choosing a major, choosing a college, and I want to end this 6-part series. Can't believe we've already done 6 weeks on this. But sort of ending in the same area that we began, but hopefully in a way that will tie everything together in a nice little bow. And I want to end with a focus on a recent Newsweek Indeed poll that I ran across. With one of the more startling findings was that 51% of Gen Zers now believe that a degree is a quote-unquote waste of money. Wow, that's strong, and that's pretty disturbing, actually. And especially for me, for me, having spent most of my adult life in higher education and academic publishing, I mean, really, that is a large number. So let's take on the question again with a little different spin. Is college worth it? Or did we all just buy into a scam with ivy on the walls? I mean, that's the question haunting Gen Z, sort of like a FAFSA form left unread, because let's face it, for decades, college was a sacred cow. It was the promised land. It was the one-way ticket to middle-class glory, the way to climb the corporate ladder to success. And that success always came complete with a house, a crossover SUV for you and your family of 2.5 kids and a golden retriever named Tucker. I mean, that's been the imagery since, you could probably trace it all the way back to around the 50s and 60s forward. That quote-unquote middle-class dream that you can achieve anything through education. But somewhere along the line, that ticket got really expensive, like mortgage level expensive. And worse, the outcomes became less reliable. So that brings me back to that survey. 51% of Gen Z grads now believe the degree was a waste of money. Another 68% think they could do their current job without even going to college, and nearly half say AI has already made their education feel irrelevant. That's not disillusionment. That's not just a complaining younger generation. This is a generational reckoning, because if the trend continues, I mean, that's just not an ebb and flow of an opinion. We may literally be seeing right now a foundational shift in mindset. So this episode, we're diving in deep into this question: is college still worth it? The answer, it will depend, but only if you understand why. The why is the most important thing. And even before I begin, who's guilty? I have to say, working in the system, we're all guilty. It's those of us in higher ed. We've lowered standards collectively, let's be honest, starting in the K-12 all the way through doctoral education. We've lost our focus. Rather than focus on core learnings, core components of intelligence and education that has been the bedrock of institutions for hundreds of years, and we've shifted into cultural, social things and political ideologies, political mumbo jumbo. And hey, again, for those of you new to this podcast, I'm not on Team Red. I'm not on Team Blue here in America. In fact, if I personally had a magic wand and I could wave it, I would probably replace the whole lot of them. But there is no reason to let our educational system become hyper political. It cheapens the system, it weakens the system, and it destroys credibility of the entire undertaking of critical thinking and learning when our institutions become so hyper politicized in one extreme or the other extreme. So I'm not stunned where we're at all, but the problem in higher education, for the most part, is higher education itself. There are other systemic things going on. out there in the workplace, in the value of degrees, but those of us who work in higher education, have brought a lot of it onto ourselves. And for any educators listening, if you won't accept that, I don't really know what else to say to you, because we have to take ownership of what's not working in our lives, whether that would be our career or our personal lives, because we need to understand how we are doing things, what we are doing, and of course, how much it all costs is a big problem in this equation. But for now, let's just go ahead and move on. Let's start with some raw data. That 51% believe their degree was a waste of money. Gee, I keep saying that, but talk about buyer's remorse. Wow. That's half of the Gen Z grads looking back at 4 years of debt, ramen noodles, and group projects from hell, wondering what in the world was all of this for. 68% are already doing jobs that they didn't need a degree in the first place. I want to repeat this statistic in case you missed it. 68% of our graduates are doing jobs that they didn't need a degree for in the first place. We know it's true. You don't have to search far and wide to find graduates stuck. I mean, stuck in dead-end type jobs that they in no way, shape, or form needed a degree. And here's a big number too. 45% of Gen Z is saying that artificial intelligence is eroding the value of education faster than the university can even raise a college fee from semester to semester. Now that, as we know, is super fast. I mean, we talked quite a bit about this, and it isn't just college students with this creeping apprehension about AI. Heck, mid-career people are wondering if they can make it out alive before AI gobbles up their job. Heck, I worry about that sort of a thing even, and I'm way past my mid-career days. So in short, this isn't whining by a young Gen Z crowd. So older generations, older Gen X, baby boomers, this is not whining. These younger students that I deal with in my classrooms, they are mentally looking at a very rational cost-benefit analysis. Gen Z is asking, does this still make sense? And Gen Z, if you're listening, you are asking the right question. So let's break it down. The first problem that Gen Z is having is debt. And we know about debt, and I've talked about debt. Half of all grads walk out owing thousands. For many, that monthly payment on average is about $500 a month. That isn't just annoying, it's an existential risk. That average loan balances are pushing up on $45,000 and $50,000. In fact, the post-mortem is scary, as 38% say their student loan debt hurt their career more than the degree helped it. This is big. This is a big problem. I mean, for some, this debt can be so crippling it's causing the delays of marriage, of kids, of buying a house, and forcing graduates to stay in jobs they hate, as they are literally feeling shackled by debt. And that feeling is real and true and valid in many cases. This is not the way it should be. You know, when you're in your 20s and your 30s, this is the time to take risks. Try new things. Find that thing, whatever that thing is, that's your passion. But if our younger generations are so stuck in debt, it just can't happen. They can't do it. The job to career mismatch is also infuriating our graduates. That's number 2. Say a student puts in time and effort and graduates with honors, does the internships, participates in the right clubs and associations, and in the end, the degree says marketing, Bachelor of Arts in Marketing, but the job title says social media assistant, or even worse, customer service representative, making $22 an hour. Or your boss never went to school at all, but graduated from grinding and learning on their own or on TikTok, YouTube videos, whatever the case might be. See, that job, the actual task, the career is not matching the degree. Let's even take another angle. A growing number of grads are landing in jobs 100% unrelated to their major. Accounting majors working in call centers, business majors working as baristas. The degree isn't opening doors into the career that thousands have paid so much money and invested so much time, but rather the diploma, it's basically become expensive wallpaper. The third big thing is AI is just eating at the entry level. This is not speculation anymore. This is going right now. It's even hitting the tech sector, entry-level coding, entry-level engineering jobs, journalism, design, data entry, marketing, paralegal, and law. All are getting side-eyed by automation. The AI apocalypse isn't going to start with lasers like some sci-fi movie, but it has already started with layoffs. The 2025 Future of Jobs report indicate that 41% of employers are anticipating reducing their workforce in roles where AI can automate tasks. That's a significant number. That's not something to sneeze at nor something to just ignore. 41% of employers reduce their workforce. Now, this does not mean that they're going to eliminate every single job that a human does, right? But if you take an unemployment rate of 5%, and let's say that AI only gobbles up 15% of the jobs, that's an unemployment rate of 20%. That would push us towards, not an economic collapse, but maybe an economic depression. And according to some surveys right now, we're already seeing around 14% of the jobs are being reduced or displaced by AI. We are early in the game here, but as I mentioned in the podcast specifically devoted to that, which was episode 127, it's a problem. Gen Z sees it. Gen Z hears it anecdotally, and Gen Z reads about it coming. They know that by the time they graduate, you go in 4 years later, imagine where AI is going to be. Half of what they learned or more just literally might be obsolete. Or in the minimum, they have to pause and consider whether what they want to study is even going to be around when they graduate. And again, I go deep into this issue in episode number 127, where you can focus on jobs and skills that are probably going to last beyond any AI revolution. Another one, number 4, changing values of a degree. Here's my hope for Gen Z. They really begin to drop this facade about the prestige of a college and only care about the return on investment. That they learn to care more about the receipts and question before they enroll things like, hey, if I'm going to drop $80K on this degree, I want to know before I get there what I'm getting myself into. And that is not cynicism, that's clarity. Just a quick reality check. Economists still say, though, lifelong earnings are higher for degree holders. And this is a true statement. It definitely is true. But here's one thing that anybody listening right now has to pay attention to about averages, because averages, they can be a little bit deceiving. Takes the whole bucket of everybody and finds that median area. So that whole averages thing also include very high wage earners, doctors, lawyers, engineers, high-end medical professionals, high-end finance professionals. And so an average can get strongly skewed. So sure, absolutely, averages are important. And we shouldn't just discard that fact. for convenience sake or just trying to argue something to make us feel that the other way is absolutely right. I mean, averages do matter, but you, and here's the thing to get from this, but you in your life and your decision to be, say, a middle school teacher. Well, if you don't live in lifetime averages, you live in your choice of college and profession. So the averages don't mean much in that case. If you're a middle school teacher, you need to get narrow in how you analyze this thing. Because many just jump into things without being specific and intentional. And they end up getting buried in cycles of rent and interest payments and side hustles, not to thrive, but to survive because, well, somebody somewhere threw out a number that said, well, on average, all higher education degree holders, they earn more than others. Yes, might be true, but what are you studying? What is your loved one going to be studying? So what do you do with this? You got to zoom in. You got to get strategic. Because college can be worth it if you play it right. So when in the world is college worth it? If you want to be a doctor, a nurse, a lawyer, an engineer, and you got the money and you're not going to bury yourself in $250,000 in student loans, hey, go for it. Because let's face it, there are fields and there are careers where you have no choice but to possess the degree. No degree and no job, period. You are not going to be a medical doctor in this country. You are not going to be a nurse. You are not going to be a school teacher unless you have the piece of paper. But even if you have to get the degree, it doesn't mean you need to go broke doing it. You can hack the system. I want to just throw out here, because I haven't gone into some of these in past. If you are in high school right now, or you have a loved one in high school right now, dual enrollment, do it as many credits as you can humanly get in. I just literally had a student who was going to finish his associate's degree at the end of one semester in college because he took so many dual enrollment credits, and those things are free. Imagine your first 2 years of college for free. Amazing, amazing opportunity. CLEP exams, Dante's exams, any of those test out classes, and every single college has them. If you didn't do dual enrollment and you missed that boat, do some of these CLEP exams, test out of them, save you a ton of money. And I know this one is tough. I teach in this environment. I love it. I love my students in this environment. Community college for 2 years. That can save you 20 to 40K depending on where you're going to finish up your junior and senior year. But why in the world do you need to pay triple, quadruple the price for the literal same intro to college, intro to humanities, English composition? You can take it for a fraction of the cost of what they're going to charge you at the 4-year university. And then, of course, transfer to in-state public universities to finish. In-state public universities to finish. The price tag will almost certainly be less. Now, as I always preface, whenever I talk about where you go to college and what you major in, if your parents have money, if you got a full ride scholarship, congrats, happy for you. You're not gonna get buried in debt. Go for what you have a flexibility that millions of people don't. You should feel gracious and thankful and for your hard work. If you got scholarships, pat yourself on the back. That is amazing and that is awesome. But the reality is you will have the same piece of paper as someone who did 2 years at a community college and transferred for the second half to the state university. It's not just smart, it's a strategy that can pay massive lifetime dividends. When you don't know what you want, don't go to college to hang out. I know you have probably heard parents, guidance counselors say, well, you'll figure it out when you go to college. You know, your first 2 years are just gen eds anyway. And by the time you're a junior, you'll figure it out. Can that happen? Yes. Does that happen? Every once in a while. But the bulk of the students who go to college without any focus or a passion to do a career end up dropping out. And it's a staggering number. Like 50% of them do that. Let me tell you something. I'll get personal with you. My son, he was not the greatest high school student. Neither was I. Asked him what he wanted to do after college. Said he didn't know. Guess maybe he'll go to college. I had to tell him, you know, I'm not paying for you to go to college to find yourself. That's not where you go to hang out to find yourself. There are other ways to find yourself. In the long run, it ended up working for him. He went military. He got some amazing training in a warrior to work program. Now he's got an incredible job and it all worked out for him. But if he would have just went to college without knowing what he really wanted to do, I almost would certainly say he probably would have dropped out. Because if you think you're going to go to college to find yourself, probably the one thing and the only thing you're going to find there is Sallie Mae student loans. Instead of that, consider military if you have kind of a heart for that. Try internships, try volunteer work, try traveling. If you can afford to do a gap year, just go to work, get dirty doing something. Just work on things, just work on you and your things. Try to get yourself focused and figure it out. And then when you figure it out, you jump off that cliff full speed and go at it. But don't go into anything kind of half-assed, right? Pardon my French, but it doesn't do you any good to just kind of sort of wander around at something. That's just a recipe for disaster. Because here's some real talk. Students who delay college until they're clear, they're going to save money, they're going to save time, and they're often going to earn more later because they know what they want. And that extra little bit of maturity makes students more focused, value the education, more dedicated. I see it firsthand all the time. Many times my adult learners are head and shoulders more focused than my straight out of high school students who just are there and aren't clear. I mean, in the most perfect world, you're going to go into your senior year of high school. You are going to be rock solid, clear. You're going to know what you want, and you're going to get the grades to get in the college you want. You're going to get your scholarships you want, and you're just going to go head first in, and it's all going to work out. But that isn't the reality for most. So be careful pulling that trigger on going to college so you have that figure out. And when the ROI isn't there, I mean, majors like business admin, a Bachelor of Arts in Entrepreneurship, or general studies. Love general studies. I'm a humanities guy, but the jobs you often get, they don't need a degree. Certifications, apprenticeships, launching your own project, heck, launching your own business might get you further faster than going into something that you could maybe learn how to do on YouTube. Don't pay $80,000 for a degree that gets you a job you could have landed with a YouTube channel and a Canva subscription. Be very, very wary of degrees so general that you don't actually need it to get a job. And I do not mean to bang on business degrees. So many millions and millions of people get business degrees. What's the specific job you're going to apply for? I got my Bachelor of Arts in Business. So what are you going to do when you graduate? Well, I'm going to do business. It's so general. There are so many ways out there to get real world skills through certifications and online outlets. Learn how to entrepreneurship. There's incubator labs. There's all kinds of things, and staying in that business mindset. But every major, shouldn't say every major, many majors have avenues that do not require the degree to be highly skilled and highly successful. So make sure, if you don't have the money and you're unsure, don't just dive into something. And this AI factor, I mean, I already talked about this, but be very, very wary. If the job is repeatable, it's rules-based, it's computer dedicated, requiring minimal human engagement, just be very careful. Be very careful about investing 4 years and 6 figures on a degree. Here's just some ideas throwing out there. Paralegals, accounting payroll clerks, copywriters, data clerks, HR coordinators. So these jobs are in danger. They're in danger because most of the people who perform jobs where you're sitting in front of a computer and you're running through policy procedures in a sequential manner, the machine, I hate to tell you, can do that way quicker than you. Coding, entry-level coding. Now, there's always going to be a need for mid and advanced coders, but if you're in one of these lanes and you really like these lanes, I don't think you should panic. But what I do think you need to do is skill up. I think you need to find a way to take whatever field you're interested in and mold that, shape that with some certain AI skills and technicalities that fit in well with every given field, because they're out there. AI, it's not going to replace ambition, but it is definitely going to punish complacency. If you think you don't have to pay attention to AI, it's going to get you. It's going to get you, unless you just happen to be in one of those fields where we just know they're so human touch oriented that AI can't really get them yet. So focus on skills AI can't fake: creativity, adaptability, communication, leadership, ethics, judgment. The stuff that doesn't show up in a spreadsheet are going to be more apt to be around for a much longer period of time than very clear data-driven jobs. And then that debt equation. Here's the gut check. If you wouldn't borrow $100,000 for a car that loses value, why would in the world would you borrow for a degree without making sure you're going to get a return on your investment? Debt will turn your dreams into nightmares. The less you borrow, the more you can pivot, the more you can explore, the more you can take risks, and you can actually live your life the way you want to live your life. So Gen Z's instincts are right on. I'm with you if you're Gen Z. And if you have a loved one who's looking at college very apprehensively, don't mock them. Don't minimize their opinions. Their instincts are on. And Gen Z, they're not entitled. They're not soft. They're not lazy. They're paying attention. And that makes them dangerous in a very, very good way. It's a good thing to question whether or not you should get a degree. This generation isn't asleep at the wheel. They're questioning systems. Some of them, I wish more of them would, are starting to do the math. They're asking better questions. And there's real power in that. And in the end, let's face it, I'm a college professor, but real education, it's not contained within the four walls of a university. The best education you'll ever get will not come with a parking pass or a seat in the student section at football games or some gourmet meal plan at the student lounge. I mean, let's face it, books are cheap. YouTube is free. Mentors are everywhere. And if you're hungry and you want to figure yourself out, you can do it outside of the walls of higher education. You can do it anywhere. Be the kind of person who never stops learning, college degree or not. Because this thing, is college worth it or not? Maybe, just maybe. But you shouldn't feel a failure if you don't choose that route because you're not comfortable in the way the game is being played anymore. The key is, though, don't go to that spot where, oh, you're just going to blame the system, blame your parents, blame the baby boomers, blame whoever. No. Don't go there. Step back from the game, figure out what you want to do, and then you set the rules, and then you go forward. Because college, it can be the best decision of your life, or it'll be one of your costliest mistakes. The difference isn't luck, it's the strategy that you take. So if you're headed towards a high ROI field and you've got a game plan, go for it. But if you're unsure, if the numbers don't add up, if your gut's just saying, ooh, I just don't know if this is right, pause, listen, reevaluate. Define your destination first, then reverse engineer the smartest path. That's not a rejection of the system. That's not some bizarro rebellion. That's being intelligent. And never forget, there isn't a right way or a wrong way, only your way. And you and only you have to live with this decision, or your loved one. So have them question the status quo or question the status quo. But don't do it to claim you are some avant-garde rebel. Do it because it is a very significant decision in your life journey. So pause. Get clear. Make the best decisions that you can and get moving and make it yours because you can. Look, as I close, I hope this series helps. This gives some ideas. If you think this can help someone forward it, if you enjoyed this podcast, subscribe, please. I truly appreciate it. As in the long run, this podcast is all about intellectual freedom, and I invite you to share your questions, your ideas, concerns. So please do that. But until the next time, think deeply, question boldly, and build a future that's truly yours.